Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time and welcome to my channel. Folks, I have some important breaking news for you. Brand new comments from President Biden about former President Trump. You're going to want to listen to this, folks. This is breaking news from Ignition Time. Folks, this is extremely significant. You'll see this headline on your screen, folks. This was just reported. According to President Biden, former President Donald Trump should not receive intelligence briefings because of his erratic behavior. President Biden said this to CBS News anchor Nora O'Donnell in a new interview that we'll be getting to watch soon. In his first sit-down interview with a major network since becoming president, Biden told CBS Evening News anchor Nora O'Donnell that he does not think Trump should receive the briefings because of his erratic behavior, unrelated to the insurrection, unrelated to the Capitol incident. And O'Donnell said at one point in the interview, "You've called him an existential threat. You've called him dangerous. You've called him reckless." And President Biden replied by saying, "Yeah, I believe it. Yep." Those are actual segments from the interview, everybody. And then O'Donnell then asked President Biden what is his worst fear if Trump continues to get these intelligence briefings. To which, and you have to listen to this, to which President Biden responds, "I'd rather not speculate out loud. I just think there is no need for him to have the intelligence briefings." Folks, this is President Biden not saying what you are thinking and what some individuals are thinking. What if, this is essentially saying the unsaid or not saying the unsaid. And then President Biden continues. I'm going to quote President Biden. What value is giving him an intelligence briefing? What impact does he have at all other than the fact he may slip and say something? So, folks, a small excerpt of this interview is already out there, but the full interview will appear on Face the Nation on Sunday and later at 4 p.m. in advance of the Super Bowl coverage. Now, President Biden declined to say anything about Trump and the Senate impeachment trial, and President Biden simply said this: "I ran to defeat him because I thought he was unfit to be president. I've watched what everybody else watched, what happened when that crew invaded the United States Congress. But I'm not in the Senate now. I'll let the Senate make that decision." Now, folks, in other news that's also quite interesting, President Biden was asked to comment on the income threshold for the $1,400 stimulus checks. Is the threshold going to go down from $75,000 down to $50,000? To which President Biden said that it's somewhere between an individual making up to $75,000 and phasing out, which, by the way, is how the $1,200 and the $600 stimulus checks were, the first stimulus check and the second stimulus check. And he said it's somewhere between that and a couple making up to $150,000 and then phasing out. Basically, I believe President Biden was a little ambiguous about it because honestly, it does depend on what's passed in the Senate. President Biden can want what he wants, but it still needs to get passed in the United States Senate. It still needs to get the support of the conservative Democrat Joe Manchin and potentially other individuals. So let's just see what happens in this regard. And folks, in other rather interesting news, and this just happened, this news was broken by the Los Angeles Times. You'll see this headline on your screen. Fox News cancels Lou Dobbs' show, and the pro-Trump host is not expected, folks, he's not expected to be back on air anytime soon. Folks, this is pretty incredible. Lou Dobbs has been on Fox for a very, very long time, and the Dobbs program airs twice nightly at 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. East Coast time on the Fox Business Network. The final airing of the show will actually be today, according to a Fox News representative, and starting next week they'll change their programming. Folks, this is pretty significant. Dobbs is 75 years old. He's still under contract at Fox News. Now, keep in mind that this cancellation comes a day after the voting company Smartmatic filed a $2.7 billion defamation lawsuit against Fox News and three of its anchors, including Lou Dobbs and two other anchors, Maria Bartiromo and Giannine Pirro. So the company, claims that these hosts perpetuated lies, perpetuated disinformation without proof. And, they said that the Smartmatic lawsuit says that Fox and these hosts damaged Smartmatic's company, damaged Smartmatic's business and its reputation. And folks, so let's shift gears back to President Biden. I can't wait to see this entire interview and hear more of President Biden's thoughts. But in another rather interesting snippet from this interview, you'll see this quote on your screen from Manu Raju over at CNN. And Manu Raju reports that President Biden told CBS he thinks he may have to drop the $15 an hour minimum wage because it will violate Senate rules on reconciliation. I don't think it's going to survive. That's what the president says. Now, folks, if you've been following my channel closely, you'll know that I've already reported that the $15 an hour minimum wage is not likely to go forward, not only because, as President Biden said, it will violate Senate rules or rules on reconciliation, but also because the conservative Democrat Joe Manchin is not supporting it. Now, here's something super interesting. You're not going to hear politically President Biden saying, well, one of my Democratic senators from West Virginia isn't in support of it, and therefore, unfortunately, we couldn't get 51 votes for the reconciliation bill, the $1.9 trillion bill, including the $15 an hour minimum wage. So politically, President Biden will simply say, "Oh, it's going to violate Senate rules." So yeah, we're probably not going to be able to get it. So this is essentially publicly the top guy, the president of the United States, the lead Democrat, basically saying, hey, the $15 an hour minimum wage is not going to happen. I'm pretty sure he already spoke with Bernie Sanders, spoke with House Speaker Pelosi, spoke with the Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, and said, hey guys, this is a battle we're going to have to give up. As long as we can win the war, which includes the $1.9 trillion stimulus package, the $1,400 stimulus checks, the $400 a week unemployment, folks, from March all the way through September. And speaking of the $1,400 stimulus checks, there has been some talk of potentially targeting the stimulus checks. Initially, the stimulus checks were supposed to be going to single filers making up to $75,000 a year, after which it would get phased out. And I did allude to that earlier. One of the comments made by President Biden on the CBS show that we can all look forward to in the next couple of days. But an important congresswoman, an important Democratic congresswoman from New York, you've probably heard of her, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez had something to say about this. She does not want to see the threshold, the income threshold for the stimulus checks lowered from 75,000 to 50,000, which is being seriously considered, which is something that the president has indicated a willingness to do in the past 48 hours, although he was strangely ambiguous about it in the CBS interview. On the one hand, it's a little strange, but on the other hand, it kind of makes sense because, he's going to have to wait and see what he gets support for in the Senate, right? But let's see what Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez had to say about this. Let's check out this tweet on your screen from Congresswoman Cortez, brand new tweet that says, if conservative Senate Democrats, by the way, who do you think she's talking about? Can you guess? Who do you think she's talking about? She is specifically talking about Joe Manchin, the conservative Democrat from West Virginia. So let's get back to Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And she says, if conservative Senate Democrats institute a lower income threshold in the next round of checks, that could potentially mean the first round of checks that under Trump helped more people than the first round under Biden. That's an interesting political point. Honestly, I hadn't thought about it that way, folks. I have a different rationale for why the stimulus check threshold should not be lowered. I have done another video about that. And then Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez says, do we want to do that? No, then let's stop playing and just help people. And in a follow-up tweet that you'll see at the bottom of your screen, she says, we should preserve what was there and not peg it to outdated 2019 income. People need help. Now, folks, that is a significant point. I have done another video talking about why I do not think the thresholds should be lowered. I believe that the Republicans will continue to play games and they won't support anything that's major. So I just think the Democrats should keep the threshold the same and push through it. I believe that the cost of borrowing money is very, very low. I believe that people need help. I believe that basically at this point in time, we should just help as many people as we can. And I believe that, who are we to judge that somebody making more than a certain amount of money does not need help? They may have expenses. They may have lost their job. They may have lost their hours. And also, as Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez points out, the most recent income, by the way, this is all based on the most recently filed income, 2019 or 2020. a lot of us have not filed our income for 2020 yet, have not filed our tax returns for 2020 yet. We've got enough things, enough problems to deal with as opposed to just filing tax returns. 2019 income could be outdated, as Congresswoman Cortez points out. So there are many reasons why the stimulus check thresholds should be kept the same. I believe that people need help, and honestly, I believe that people don't really care about bipartisanship and unity. People care about checks in the mail because we have to put food on the table, we have to keep the lights on, we have to be able to make rent. And interestingly, as Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez points out, this could result in less people getting stimulus checks, which obviously is a bad thing because you want more people to get checks. Yes, there will be some wastage. But as Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez points out, politically, the Republicans say, aha, look, first they see, here's the interesting thing. What Congressman Ocasio-Cortez is saying, that the Republicans will say, oh, don't spend all this money, let's target it. And then later, the Republicans will say, oh, look, President Biden helped less people and President Trump helped more people. See, this is how politics works. So folks, let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you learned something new from this video, please click like, please subscribe, please enable notifications. I would greatly appreciate that. That would mean a lot to me. That really helps out the YouTube algorithm. That little click is your reward for the hours and hours and hours of work that goes into this channel. Thank you so much for watching. Please click like, please subscribe, please enable notifications. I appreciate you. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Thank you. Bye.